Hi everyone. This is going to be the first recorded video of my YouTube channel. So before beginning, I wanted to say thank you to anyone who is listening to me, and secondly, sorry for a potentially bad video quality. My phone is being used and it's laying on a laptop, so there's also a very annoying light. So just don't think about it. More importantly, I wanted to use this first video as a introduction. I want this channel to be a place where I can discuss political issues. I can answer other people's questions or comments, and really share my point of view on a variety of topics. So the reason that I'm doing this, well, there's two reasons. The first is some people have told me that they think it's a good idea. And secondly, it ties in with the first. I often talk too much about political issues, and I feel like making these videos is a good way to go more in depth into some of these really important topics. So for those who don't know me, my name is Sasha and I'm 22. I'm a student living in Germany. I've been here for 3 months now, and for most of my childhood and adult life, I have lived in Orlando, Florida. And I'm currently studying global affairs, which is a social science master's program. I don't want to express too many of my political views now, because that might de-incentivize those who want to watch more videos. There will be more videos. So one extremely relevant topic to discuss right now is the 2020 election. Some of the pros, some of the cons. I personally think that this election cycle will be seen as a bittersweet one, because as someone who did not like Trump for a variety of reasons, but mainly because of his ability to bullshit people, that is one of my pet peeves, and so I'm very happy to see him no longer run our country. On the other hand, I was no fan of Biden, and I don't think many people who voted for him were particularly fond of his policies. The reality is Joe Biden has been in government since the 70s, right? Yeah, 70s. And he has accomplished a lot. It's just those accomplishments go in the opposite direction of where our country should be going. So Joe Biden voted for the crime bill in the 90s with Bill Clinton. Not only did he vote for it, he advocated for it. And you can go on YouTube and find clips of that. Joe Biden has advocated to cut Social Security. He was one of the people who voted us into the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. And he was also, along with Obama, in charge of an expanding military that sadly increased the amount of drone attacks from the United States onto other countries. Also, the bailout that occurred after the financial crisis of 2008 was seen by many as not going far enough. And my point with listing all of these accomplishments is to kind of show that Joe Biden, he represents the older part of the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party that is pro-business and is pro the employer and not focusing on the working class anymore. I was a strong believer in Bernie Sanders, not so much for his specific policy positions, but because I saw him as a political figure who would not bend to the will of the establishment. And so I have been hoping for some time now for candidates to run on a progressive agenda, or at a even more basic level, an agenda that is shaped on their own beliefs. I don't want to get too out of focus, but one of the number one reason why politicians don't vote the way that we would like them to is because of the special interest of the lobbying and of the amount of money that goes into political campaigns. Bernie Sanders represented a person who refused to do stuff like that. So although I didn't agree with everything he said, that was a very attractive element that I lean to, even if it's a conservative candidate who's not taking PAC money. I think it's an amazing thing, the public shouldn't have to worry about politicians making decisions not based off of their own criteria. When we vote for someone, we're not voting them in to take money from a corporation or a lobbying group. It's just for me, it's an important step that needs to be taken within the United States specifically. Now, to go back to the election, I think it is bittersweet because the establishment wing of the party is going to look at this election as a rebuttal on Trump. Clearly Trump was just a quote-unquote phenomenon in their opinion, or from their perspective. There's nothing we really have to worry about. Joe Biden has even already tweeted, America is back, whatever that's supposed to mean, which is why this election will be bittersweet, because the next 4 to 8 years are going to be a transition within the Democratic Party, whether they like it or not. Democrats who their voters are becoming more and more progressive. And so as time goes on, progressive candidates are going to be the ones running against conservatives. And if Democrats were able to accept this reality, then I think the party would be in a much better place. But, the Democrats were predicting to take 15 seats in the House of Representatives, and it looks like the Republicans might have gained a seat. which is a 16 or 17 seat turnaround. Very bad. On top of that, the Democrats hoped to take over the Senate, and now it is coming down to 2 special election races in Georgia. So this was not an overwhelming victory from my perspective. It was a culmination of some bad policies by the Trump administration, people being fed up with his rhetoric, and I think most of all, the impact of COVID on our economy really changed the way people decided to vote. I think if COVID wasn't a factor this year, my prediction would have been that Trump was going to win. And it's hard to recognize this, but Trump is not a phenomenon. He is someone who harnessed a feeling in the country that was accumulating over the last 30, 40 years. I'd say ever since Ronald Reagan, our government has put the priority on capital gains for the employer and not the employee. So high-level executives, wealthy individuals, corporations, they have been on the receiving end of the vast amount of wealth that has been created in the last 40 years. This is the reason why Trump won. It's because both parties, for a very long time, neglected the needs of American people. Some may say that Trump became very popular because of his cultural attacks. So, his attacks on immigration, on racism, on these kinds of topics that can really turn people off or turn them on. And so, although this is I think it is an accurate statement that it played a role, the underlying cause of this has been a class issue. It's been an economic issue where the American people have continued to follow by the rules, continued to do what's quote unquote right in society, and the rewards they have gotten are nowhere near in comparison to that of the top 5%. And so the whole point of this little rant is for everyone to realize that the fight for issues that matter to you is not over. If you're a conservative, obviously, now is the time to start advocating and start pushing back against the Biden administration. If you are a progressive, now is the time to keep Biden accountable for the progressive issues that he says he will enact. I have to give some early credit to people like Bernie Sanders and AOC, who were able to come up with concrete policy proposals for the Biden administration that they agreed on. And so only time will tell if these proposals will turn into policies, but progressives need to continue pushing Biden, and on top of that, we need candidates who will run on the local, state, and federal level. And when I say progressive, I don't mean left or right. I truly mean someone who is no longer going to be taking money from corporate PACs, from lobbying groups, but politicians and individuals who are reimagining the way that we can govern and reimagining solutions to some of the biggest problems that we have. So I'm going to leave it at that. I appreciate everyone who watched the whole video, and feel free to share this with anyone that you think would like it. Goodbye.